Do you like strong magic systems, reluctant heroes, villains who think that they are the hero, animal companions, family bonds? Then this book is absolutely for you. Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. It's Tori and I am so excited because today I am going to be giving you guys my review of Voice of War by Zack Argyle. Man, I gotta tell you guys, I've been getting into a ton of self-pub fantasy and really meeting a lot of people in the community and seeing what the self-pub fantasy community has grown into and what it has to offer, and I'm telling you, you don't want to miss this. One of the things that you do not want to miss is Voice of War by Zack Argyle, and I'm going to tell you why. This review will be completely spoiler-free, and I will also link my written review on Goodreads down in the comments below so that you can read that if you would like. Now, this book, Voice of War, is the first of 3 books. The other 2 books are Stones of Light and Bonds of Chaos. I have heard that this first book is the amazing portal to the even more amazing second and third books, so I cannot wait to get into the rest of this series. When we open this book, we are introduced immediately to Chris Valerian. Now, Chris is our reluctant hero character, and I couldn't be happier with him as a main protagonist in this story. He is fabulous. He is a war hero with a dark secret. He is a high general in the kingdom of Alkea, one of 3, and he is days away from meeting his first child. Chris is a thread weaver, which introduces us to the magic system in this book, which is called Threadlight. Threadlight is basically a way that you are connected to all of the things in the world, and those threads you can manipulate if you are a magic user like Chris. Chris's eyes are blue, which identifies him as a sapphire thread weaver, which allows him to push against those threads. His counterpart would be an emerald, someone that can pull against the threads of the magic system. We are introduced to 2 other types of Threadlight users throughout the book, but I'm not going to spoil those for you because they're pretty interesting. While he is awaiting the birth of his first child with his wife Ariel, Chris is given a dangerous mission to uncover a secret organization that has been kidnapping Threadlight users and either killing them or making them disappear. Rounding up his motley crew of soldiers, which are some fantastic side characters to introduce us to in the beginning of the book, Chris undergoes this investigation with them, and they uncover a sinister plot that is far more dangerous and far more intricately woven than anything that they were expecting. That's my overview of the beginning of the book. Now I'm going to go on and talk a little bit about what I liked about the plot, the characters, and the world building and the style of Zack Argyle's writing. It took me a little ways, probably about halfway into the book, to really feel immersed into the story, and I don't think that that's necessarily Zack Argyle's fault. That is something pretty normal to me as a reader, that it takes me a little bit of time to really get acclimated into the story and the world and see what's going on. I don't think I even realized how emotionally invested I was in the characters until about halfway through the book, when some things happen and I suddenly realized, oh wow, yeah, I'm definitely invested. One of the things that Zack Argyle does really well is he raises the stakes and the tension very, very evenly throughout the book, so it feels like a very smooth upgrade of the stakes all the way out into the final climax of the story, which is really hard to do, especially in a first novel. Argyle did a great job making sure that not a single page of this story was wasted, and that ending, you guys, the ending of this book was so tense. Really important note that I want to make here with the plot is Argyle's use of themes throughout this book, specifically when it comes to women and childbirth. Now, there is obviously some childbirth themes in this book, since Ariel is about ready to give birth when we meet her at the beginning of the story. This is a topic that is so horribly misrepresented in so much media. It was so refreshing to meet an author, and a male author, that handled that topic so well and so accurately. I was very impressed by that. Another theme that Zack Argyle handles with a lot of respect and accuracy in this book is mental health. Mental health is a theme that I always watch for in books, because a lot of times it's kind of used as just a trope instead of an actual character element, and he showcased a lot of what our reactions to mental illness should be in this book and used it in a way that felt very authentic to the characters. Moving on into the characters, the 3 main POVs that we follow in this story are Chris, who I've already introduced you to, and then we meet Laurel. Laurel is a young woman who doesn't play well with others. She's rebellious. She is the gray hair of the elders in her community, and she is a Threadlight user who is a little bit too addicted to having the feeling of magic running through her veins. We find out that her parents were killed quite a long time ago, and that leaves Laurel and her little brother and her grandfather kind of struggling to make some form of a family. Through Laurel's POV, we are introduced to Asher, who is an animal companion. He is a chroma wolf, which I won't explain because the world building in this book is something that you really have to experience for yourself. It's through her relationship with her chroma wolf that we see Laurel relax a little bit, and that's the place that I found her to be most endearing in the beginning of the book. The only thing that I'm going to tell you about Alvarax, who is the third and final POV that we meet about halfway through the book, is that when we meet him, he is literally waking up from death. He's scarred, he's a mess, and he wasn't supposed to survive. I really appreciated the assortment of side characters in this novel. There's a lot of really great gems in those sidekick casts, and they were something that added a lot to the main characters as well. When it comes to world building, this is a very immersive story, and I appreciate that Zack Argyle really gives us a variety of locations to sink our teeth into. We've got 2 cities represented in this first story, and both of them are incredibly distinct from each other. In Chris's city, life seems to kind of revolve around the temple and also the Great Lord, who is the ruler of the city. Over in the second city that we meet through Alvarax, it's completely different. Everything feels a little bit more crime lords run, and it's definitely a little bit more dark and gnarly, and that was something I really appreciated because I really like having distinct locations that I can immediately separate in my mind. The third location that is absolutely beautiful is the Feywild, and that is where we meet Laurel. This is a beautiful forest that honestly kind of reminded me of James Cameron's Avatar as a visual. The way that Argyle describes the environment, it's very vibrant. He has a lot of really beautiful kind of flora and fauna descriptions, and I really loved that contrast with the 2 cities in this book. Last but not least, we're going to talk about Zack Argyle's writing style. Now, the first thing I have to say about this book that I was incredibly impressed by is Argyle has a very clean, accessible writing style. I really appreciate when prose is artistic enough to be immersive, but it's not dense, and it doesn't weigh you down as you're trying to work through the story. The dialogue between the characters felt very natural for the most part in this book. There was a little bit of joking around between the characters, specifically in the beginning of the book, that felt a little heavy-handed to me, but other than that, the dialogue between the characters does feel very authentic throughout most of the story. He does a really good job of introducing and following his themes in the story without taking away anything from the characters and the plot. I went into this book expecting to love it, and I was not disappointed. Another thing that I will say is that if you are a fan of Brandon Sanderson's work and you are looking for something else to read, highly recommend Voice of War. This strikes me as the type of writing style and storyline that I would definitely recommend to a Brandon Sanderson fan. I would definitely recommend this book to somebody that maybe doesn't have as much experience reading fantasy in general. So that is something that I think is a huge win for this book because it's going to be loved by fantasy veterans and newbie fantasy fans as well. That is all from me today. I hope that you guys go check this book out if you have not already read it. If you have read it, I would love to hear down in the comments what you thought of it, who your favorite character was, what your favorite things about it were. Please let me know. I might plan on doing like an overall series review once I finish the trilogy, but for now, my PSA for you today is if you have not picked up this book already, definitely throw it on your radar and your TBR and get it in your hands and start reading it because it is excellent. I hope you guys are all having a fabulous week, that you are enjoying some 5-star reads, and I will see you in the next video.